what we're calling a mini-sode.
Sure.
Since we're doing it.
We'll see.
We're doing it on a Wednesday. Jack, Jack, you are in control of how long this episode goes.
I'm going to try. I'm just saying there's, we'll see how long, how much we actually wind up, wanting to talk about.
Well, let's get this show on the road.
Were you yakking?
Let's chop it up.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Welcome to Discourse Pod, the podcast where we discuss the discourse, brought to you by Discourse Blog. Jack is here.
Hello.
In third chair this week for a mini-sode, Jack Crosby.
What's up?
Cros,
Was I on the last episode?
No,
was
the
Paul on the last?
episode
It was Paul.
before that. Cros, how are
Okay.
you still alive and awake after you went to not only Andrew Cuomo's loser party, but also Curtis Sliwa's loser party in the same night?
Yeah.
Cursed.
Well, fortunately, they weren't very far away from one another.
Oh, that
they
makes
were
sense.
Sliwa's was
they
on
were trying to get the
West-
same people, so that makes sense.
Right. Sliwa was at a very modest Italian restaurant and bar on West 73rd Street, and Cuomo's was on a gigantic hotel ballroom that was paved over a historic New York theater, which was
Perfect.
A good,
Yes.
good
Yeah,
metaphor.
the Ziegfeld, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, they weren't that far apart. But I did sprint to Cuomo's. I went to the train, I took the train, and then I was trying to find a city bike to get from Columbus Circle to 54th, and I couldn't, so I ended up just kind of running several blocks and showed up really sweaty because he lost the election so fast.
I know, it's crazy.
That I was
Yeah.
I'm gonna miss his concession speech because I got stuck behind this huge gaggle of press watching Sliwa's concession speech, and I thought I was going to miss it all. And I guess I did miss the moment when he actually lost the election at Cuomo's party. But Curtis Sliwa was, having fun. That's where I was.
Apart from Zohran, obviously, the person who helped himself the most in this election is Curtis Sliwa.
Yeah. And you know what? Fair play to him.
Totally.
Good for Curtis Sliwa. A guy I would not want running the city, whose politics I sort of deeply distrust, but someone who, say what you will, he at least has convictions. I don't know what all of his convictions are, and I'm sure that he has some new ones that would surprise me. But the thing about him loving animals is really true.
Yes,
he went
he
on
does.
about that in his concession speech. He loves animals, and he loves his dang wife. Which, who among us? I can appreciate that.
Another wife guy.
Another wife guy.
I mean, he's in it for the love of the game. You know what I mean?
He's in it for the love of the game. He's in it for, and he loves New York City, I think. Only a guy who was almost assassinated in the back of a taxi cab by John Gotti's son or something like that and stuck around in the city. That man, I think that was maybe one of the takeaways to me is when Cuomo left his big ballroom, he's going right back to wherever the fuck did he live, outside of the city before he moved back.
I think it's
to
somewhere in Westchester.
Yeah, Westchester. He's going straight back to Westchester. He's never he's not even gonna go to pack up that apartment that he rented if it even had furniture in it in the first place.
We're never gonna see Andrew Cuomo within
100%.
New York City's limits ever again.
But Zohran Mamdani could have shot Curtis Sliwa with a gun. It wouldn't be the first time, and Curtis Sliwa would be right back on the corner of wherever. So I was getting his public schedule for the last couple of weeks of the election cycle as I was trying to figure out this piece and what to do about it. And that man was pounding the damn pavement in every single day. He was in at least 3 of the 5 boroughs. Just going around. I was you probably don't have to be doing that much. You can have a Brooklyn day and then go up to Queens or whatever. But he was going all over the place. And
he
it
left
didn't work out for him.
He left it on
70%
all
of
on
the
the
vote,
field.
But
Yes.
What could have been,
But also, obviously we've sort of started in the middle of this conversation, but whatever. Everybody knows
sorry
what we're
about that.
talking about.
Well, we got to talk about the good news, which is Dick Cheney died.
Yes. I mean, what a day. What a day. I woke up yesterday. The sun was like shining, not a cloud in the sky. Dick Cheney was dead. Zohran Mamdani was about to be elected. Like, sometimes even in a terrible era of history, you get a beautiful day. And we're all blessed to not only have experienced that, but to be at the epicenter of a beautiful day that people around the world are jealous that they did not get to experience. It's
In
pretty
this
good.
world of wonders, one wonder more.
Yeah. Okay, here's my next question. Did people pick up their New York Post?
They were all sold
They're
out.
sold
I
out
forgot.
everywhere.
I slept in this morning, and then I went to Manhattan this afternoon, and I forgot to look when I was in Manhattan.
I got mine at 7 a.m.
Yeah, that was smart.
Jack's jumping out of bed like it's Christmas Day, running down to the bodega to buy this issue.
I bought
of the New
two
York
copies.
Post.
To be clear for the audio-only listeners here, Jack was holding up the cover of the New York Post, which says,
Yes.
What does it say, Jack?
I'm holding it up again for the video people. It says, "On your marks, get Zoe." Mark spelled with an X, obviously. Socialist
yeah.
Mamdani wins race for mayor. And then the big headline is "The Red Apple." And it features Zohran Mamdani's head superimposed on an image of someone dressed all in red, wielding a hammer and sickle.
Hell yeah.
And then it says, after a campaign that promised high taxes, free stuff, hating Israel, and vibes, socialist Zohran Mamdani romped to victory last night and will become the 111th mayor of New York City. And I mean,
I said this in Slack. I laughed.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, these guys, no one does it quite like the Post, man.
I mean, they're evil, but they've been here for a long time for a reason. At the bodega, it was selling like crazy. The person in front of me bought 2 copies. Then I bought 2 copies. It is the
That
hot.
rocks.
It is the hot item. And the woman who in front of me who bought 2 copies, she just turned around and she was like, "We had a great night last night." I was
Did I say this already? That it's going for $50 to $80 on eBay?
I just looked up
Yeah.
on eBay and
Collector's item.
And there was
Yeah.
one that it started, the person who posted it started the bidding at $35. And the last time I checked, which was a half hour ago, the bidding had gone up to $97.
Hell
Oh my
yeah.
God.
People are clamoring for this thing, because, I mean, it is an instantly sort of iconic image, and I mean, New York Post laughing all the way to the bank. They'll be fine.
Geniuses, all of them.
Yes.
What are you going to do with your copies?
I don't know. I have one to give away, which I have to figure out what I'm gonna do with. I'm should I frame the other one?
I would totally frame it and
Yeah.
put it up.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
so
That's what I might do. And I'm oh my God, it feels such a lib move to frame something about a politician winning, but the motto of the night was you get to lib out on this one, which the
Yeah,
Democrat.
you get to live out a
Yeah,
little bit.
amnesty
official-
for living out for one night only.
Yes, and the official Democratic Party account tweeted libbing
Oh, I
the
saw
fuck
that.
out, and I'm this is
You're not allowed to do that.
this does not concern you.
Yeah.
This is like when they did Kamala as rat. You
Yes.
can't say the quiet part loud in this instance.
And also,
Yeah.
if they'd had their way, he would not have even been the nominee, let alone the winner.
What's been funny today is watching all the Democratic elected officials that didn't endorse him try to dance around how good, because it was unequivocally a great night for the party as a whole.
Yes.
It was a mini blue wave across essentially the entire country. So
Yeah.
everyone who wants to contest for national leadership, the Cory Bookers and Hakeem Jeffries, who's already national leadership, but are have been doing their little posts today, and the way they treat Zoran, if they mention him at all, has just been extremely funny. these guys, like, they're owned. They're owned.
Yes.
They're trying to pretend that they're not owned, and they are. And now they have to deal with the fact that, once again, for the second time since AOC, like, the most popular person in their party is a guy that all of them tried to kneecap.
Right. I know. I think Pete Buttigieg was like, such great news out of New Jersey and Virginia. End of list.
I know. When Hillary
Oh
Clinton,
my
when the
God.
Clintons are beating you to sort of an open congratulations,
Pete.
Buttigieg should know better than that.
He should.
Pete.
He's
get it
also
together.
like, he's done his little defenses of Israel and stuff like that, but he's not known as like a staunch, the Lion of Zion or whatever. Like, he's not, he's not one of those guys. He can come in with a like excited to see the work you do in your great city.
Yes.
As transportation secretary, I have some notes on how to make trains crash more, or something like that.
Or, okay,
Like,
first of
or
all,
at lea-
great Pete.
Yeah. That's pretty
got him.
accurate.
I don't even think I was actually trying to do a Pete impression there. I was
No,
just trying
you
to do like stuffy guy.
You
voice,
like
but maybe
accidentally
yeah,
backed
maybe I
into
got it.
one.
Yeah.
Or at least like, the bare minimum that people have settled on is like, you know what? It's great because we also care about affordability. I'm so excited to work with you on affordability.
If I can do a mini sort of Pete rant here, that he's kind of shooting himself in the foot with this. Because like the past, so I, full disclosure here, I interviewed him in a very softball interview for this GQ package I worked on a little while ago. And we talked about a whole bunch of stuff about masculinity and things like that. And Pete is, as he appears on TV and podcast, he's a very, sensible, good communicator, warm human being. He knows how to say all these things. And he was doing really well with this. He was going on all the bro podcasts and talking about these ideas. And like, he's genuinely talented. Like, he's a guy that like should, but I think maybe this is like his one sort of political weakness is that he is still, he's afraid to lib out. He's afraid to go in. And I feel like for all of the good instincts that he showed, like, this is the time to bandwagon, man. If you're gonna bandwagon, like, he's won all of it. There's no chance that Cuomo beats him again. Like,
No, there's
might
not.
as well hop on. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a wonderful thing. No, I agree. I mean, I think like his ceiling when he was running for president, apart from the fact that he's gay, which like who knows what that did, probably did something. Not sure it would do as much now, but who knows? That's why Kamala didn't pick him to be her vice president. So we know it had some effect. But like he was one of like that group of people who had no real cohesive political identity. Like he was sort of like leftish in some ways and sort of not in other ways, and like just trying to sort of pick out like this vague point along the spectrum of the party. And I think he like rose above the rest of that field, including Kamala Harris, because he is such a sharp communicator, and he's able to sort of like speak seemingly intelligently, but also in a sort of like direct and like demystifying way.
You can understand Pete when he talks.
Yes.
It doesn't sound like he's on like a bizarre cocktail of like gabapentin and SAT prep books.
Right.
Like,
But like he has zero riz. Like he's the least charismatic politician. Like he just has no. There's no it factor. Like there's no magic to me with Pete. He's like good at speaking. He's good. He's like a guy in a suit.
I don't think he's the Democrats' guy. I don't think as much as he wants it, he's ever going to be the Democrats' guy.
No.
But I do think he's going to be a perennial cabinet guy. And he is, like, if we're looking at National Democratic Party strategy, trying to sort of like rebuild a political movement that doesn't suck this time, which, they will inevitably fail at. But, the country can only hope that they do it slightly less bad this time. Like, I think Pete is probably got to be an integral part of that, simply because like they don't have that many guys that can do that. Even ones that don't have any Riz.
Right. Right.
They gotta like, you gotta kind of moneyball it here, but like you do have to like, hold on to some of your dependable veterans. Like you got to keep Tim Walz in the mix. You got to keep Pete in the mix. You got to like, I don't know, convince Obama to get off of Richard Branson's island as much as humanly possible, but he doesn't really seem particularly willing to do that.
No, he's like, I do one thing every 3 years.
You might as well give it a shot.
I mean,
offer Michelle anything in the world to say, like to do like a 2-minute speech.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Speaking of Obama, I thought it was interesting how his sort of middle state, not quite of an endorsement, but strategically placed. Oh, this phone call. They had a phone call, and that immediately is leaked to the Times. Sort of soft endorsement. We were talking about this with Paul last week. Like the folks who are willing to read the room on this and sort of embrace where things are going are putting themselves at an early advantage, I think. Yeah. Moving forward, and Obama beating Pete, Schumer. Did Nancy say anything? Who else?
I don't think she did.
Who are the holdouts until
Hakeem.
Yeah.
Jeffries.
But there was a huge slate of Dems who waited until he actually won to even acknowledge basically he existed.
I mean, Schumer would not. Schumer all but admitted that he didn't even vote for him.
Amazing.
Like, which is wild. And you have to assume that is solely and purely on the basis of this stuff about Israel. But like this is like the mayor of New York City, Chuck Schumer's hometown, and Chuck Schumer is like the most powerful Democrat in America.
Yeah.
And he would not even say, I voted for him. He was like, look, I voted, okay? What do you want from me? Which like, that's crazy. And it gets to sort of what you were just talking about, Cros, which is that like one of the things that we're gonna see over the next couple of years is like, I'm assuming that both of you like watched or saw after the fact Zohran's like winning speech.
Yeah, I actually haven't. I was
Okay.
asleep for like half the day today, and then I woke up and like I had a meeting in Manhattan, and then I sort of mindlessly scrolled some Instagram reels and played a computer game.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I've seen bits and
Yeah.
pieces.
Did you watch it,
Yeah.
Alex?
Oh, I sure did.
Yeah.
Opens with a Eugene Debs quote.
Right.
Really
Wow.
putting a fine point on it.
Yeah. But like I love to know what you thought about it. I was like, holy crap, and like I'm someone who has been like following, Zohran along like with the rest of the city for the better part of a year now, and I was like, oh my god, like he blew the fucking roof off.
Oh yeah,
With
like,
that
he
speech.
big time leveled up. Like the tone and tenor of this speech, I thought I was really struck by how like he really sort of like stepped up the game in like a pretty significant way with this speech. Like his previous like campaign speeches or some of his rallies was much more rah, upbeat, optimistic, and which is not to say that this speech wasn't, but this was like very firmly like the joke is like, today Donald Trump proved he was president. Like this was very much like Zohran Mamdani is like, oh, I'm fucking officially mayor now, and like here we go, we're locking in. It's like very official sounding.
Yes.
But not in the way that we,
Yeah. I mean,
typically
like,
deride like a Democratic
Right.
winner for sounding official and authoritative and moving and clear-eyed and confident in a way that was like, oh, this guy's like, we've only really seen maybe half of what he's capable of. It became very clear
Yes.
in that moment.
And also, like, in terms of, two things. Like, first of all, I tweeted this last night, but I was like, we're going to like immediately have to start reminding people that Zohran Mamdani is not actually allowed to run for president.
Right.
Because he's not a natural born U.S. citizen. I think that's actually like one of the things that makes him a better candidate, because like there is a real ceiling on how high he can go, and the higher that you want to go as a politician, the worse like you're gonna be. And so and I immediately saw people being like, Zohran Mamdani 2028. It's like, well, like, it's not gonna happen.
I can't.
But
he can be a senator, right?
Yeah, he can be anything.
That's pretty much
everything,
the highest you can
but
go,
I
right?
think vice president or president. Or I guess I mean, no, you can be like in the cabinet. You probably just get skipped in the line of succession or something like that. But like it was like you said, Alex, like super leveling up. But also, like, apart from its very sort of unapologetic, like, embrace of his identity, he was like, I'm a Muslim, I'm a democratic socialist, I don't apologize for any of those things. Like you said, open with a Eugene Debs quote, which is like, half of Brooklyn probably fainted when they heard it, But then the section that he had about Donald Trump was, like at the actual sort of climax of the speech. And it was so combative and so, like you said, sort of confidently pitched. And like that is the thing that not just like DSA people are going to be excited about, because, they will be excited about that. Like, that's the thing that, like, every normie Democrat across the country is going to watch and be like, holy fuck, like, why can't everybody talk to Donald Trump like that? And, like, that's part of, how, like, AOC sort of managed to, like, work her way into like the more sort of mainstream hearts of the party. But people are looking for exactly that kind of fire directed towards Donald Trump right now. And like people are going to want that in their own state. They're going to want that in their own candidates. Like, there's all this talk now like, oh, the Republicans are about to like make Zohran public enemy number one. They're about to make him the face of the Democratic Party. But the flip side of that is like people are going to want him to show up and endorse them. Not everybody, obviously, but like if like the establishment wing of the Democratic Party thinks that he will not be seen as an asset, like they're crazy.
The dark irony being now he will be the most sought after endorsement after all of these people are dragging their heels to endorse him.
Right.
Yeah.
He gets the last laugh, which is so perfect.
Yes. Cros, I want to ask you a little more just about like the vibe that you saw at especially the Cuomo party. The Sliwa party is like
we
a sort of,
kind of
nice
get the vibe on that.
nice little afterthought. Although like I thought he, just as he has throughout the campaign, conducted himself with like a level of sort of class and integrity that Cuomo absolutely did not. Like he never really signed on to like the insane like racism that Cuomo did. Like he called Mamdani last night to congratulate him. Cuomo did not.
He also in his concession speech, in Sliwa's concession speech, I mean, Cuomo went the whole speech. He said Mamdani's name once,
right, and mispronounced it.
and mispronounced it. Sliwa said directly, like, congratulations to the mayor-elect. We should all be, and he said that, the classic political line, but still like a significant one, like, we should all be rooting for him to do well, because if he does well, we all do well.
Right, exactly.
Which
is like, it's not that hard to do.
Yeah, and that was the biggest thing. Like, Cuomo's like sort of top line from his speech, one of the first things that he said in his concession speech or whatever was like, this campaign was the right fight to have, and he portrayed it as like, we're fighting against this dangerous philosophy that's threatening to take over the Democratic Party and threatening to take over the country, which is, not being Andrew Cuomo, I think, is that philosophy that he's so worried about. Call it socialism, call it whatever you want.
I was asking because, like, the thing that really defined the Cuomo campaign all the way through, but especially in like the last sort of month or so, was like the extremism of like the Islamophobia, the sort of divisiveness that he stirred up. Just like one of the most sort of openly, unapologetically disgusting, like, racist campaigns that I think I have ever experienced in my life. Certainly that I've ever experienced while living in this city, And so, like, one of the great things about last night was not only that Zohran won, but that Cuomo lost, and that, like, millions of people, this was the biggest turnout in the city since 1969, and people came out, like, not just to vote for Zohran, but to repudiate, like, that kind of really sort of gutter politics. And so I'm just curious, like, what the mood was inside, like, the little bubble where, like, people thought, like you said, that actually was like an honorable way to conduct yourself. And, did you get the sense that, like, the tone that Cuomo struck, which was like, so, like, fuck all of you, like, I have no regrets, like, we basically won anyway, like, and, like, I still hate this guy, and, like,
he was like talking about his vote numbers. He was like, 2 million people got out and voted for me or something like that. And it's like, well, yeah, but the other guy had even more than that.
But so, like, was there any sense that you got that, like, anyone sort of in that circle was in any way, like, reflective about, like, anything that had happened, or were they all, like, on the same sort of wavelength as Cuomo himself was?
No, I don't think they're reflective. I'm going to go sort of slightly zag with this and say that, to me, what was striking is it's an example of something that we've talked about, or I feel like that I've talked about on previous Discourse podcasts and things like that, which is, the mistake that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris made in the most recent election cycle was framing so much of their election around, and the mistake you could say that Hillary Clinton made as well, was framing so much of their campaign pitch around, you have to elect me or else you're going to get this guy. And that can work, as we saw in 2020, if the guy is in office and actively doing bad shit. But you can't run one of these negative spoiler campaigns, like, I'm the only alternative to this guy, to someone who is new, who is fresh, who has a growing movement, like grassroots movement of support behind them, like a dedicated support. The only way that you beat that is by offering those people something that they want more, and not like this guy's scary, because the people who aren't scared by him are already convinced. You're never going to convince those people unless you offer an affirmative argument. And this is something that we've been saying about the Democratic Party as a whole, that, like, they've, as well as, the Republicans are obviously masters of fear mongering, but the Democratic Party does it as well. And what I think that they haven't figured out how to do is to link the fear mongering that they're doing to an actual sort of, like, campaign plan of things that people actually want. And that's what Zohran did, but that's what Cuomo completely, like, wasn't able to do. So I'm at this victory party, and I'm talking to people and I'm getting the lines and stuff like that. And people's support for Cuomo really boiled down to, I talked to like there's a real estate lawyer who was probably in his 80s who gave me like the experience line, and I'm like, to be honest, if you're a real estate guy in your 80s, like, fair enough, dude.
Makes
Whatever.
sense. Of
You
course.
know what I mean? Yeah. You want a guy who's ran the budgets of 10 million different things to be business guy doing a difficult job. But like, the executive politics isn't, you don't need experience for that. You're kind of just like twiddling a finger and pointing and saying, and like, go do, and like trying to like talk to people into letting them do what you want to do. It's like, you're not like crunching spreadsheets every day. You have like 400 people to do that. Like, all these people think that like you need some specialized skill set to be an executive or a CEO or something like that. And you don't really, you just need like sound judgment and good decision making. And like, those are the same things you need to run a successful campaign. And so in that respect, Cuomo showed that he had far less experience than Zohran Mamdani did in like making the right smart decisions of who to talk to and who's favored to curry and who's, what strategies to take to build political power. I don't know. So you got the experience line. I got this feeling that the room was this weird mashup between, the guys like this real estate guy who are, I think probably pretty actually middle of the road Democrats. They've been Democrats their whole life. They're capitalists. I'm sure they debated voting for Mitt Romney for a minute because they got a little bit spooked. Guys like Barack Obama hadn't been allowed inside the like New York Racket Club until, only 8 years before that or some shit.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
They got a little worried and they were like, but like these are longtime Democrats. They truly did. They bought into the experience thing. Cuomo is a known force. Like, trying to convince an 80-something-year-old to accept like broad visionary change for the city that he's lived in, since Curtis Sliwa was getting shot in yellow cabs. Like, that's going to be a tall order, right?
They are by kind of inertia.
Right. And then I feel like there was a pretty strong sort of like, there was like the liberal Zionist crowd, I think, which is just really into, the accusation, anything pro-Palestine just absolutely freaks them out. I passed one of the quotes I got in this story I did for Slate, not attributed to anyone. There were like two women walking past. One had on a big, like one of the shiny, like big gold Star of David necklaces. So I'm not like, we're not stereotyping here or whatever, but this woman is like shrilly saying to the other woman, she's like, I've been helping you out. I think she was an influencer of some sort. I've been helping you out on my social media for free because my life depends on it.
Oh my God.
She's saying, and I'm like, it's like, that's the mindset of a lot of the people that were in that room. They're fully free press brained.
Yeah. And I think they do sincerely believe that.
They
strongly held
believe
conviction
that.
for sure.
Yeah.
They sincerely believe that.
Yeah. Very, very brief side note. Did we see Deborah Messing's
sort of mental breakdown
online activity yesterday?
I saw some tweets and some screenshots. Deborah,
but
get well soon, babe.
Like, it sounds like there were a lot of Deborah Messing types in the crowd last night.
Yeah.
Cros.
There were also some. I met this woman named Mary Jo, who was the sweetest like middle-aged lady and with a nice Southern accent, where she was like, I'm disappointed. I'm probably gonna go home and cry, but that's our process. We gotta deal with it, and now we'll take the high road. And I was like, yeah, you're right, Mary Jo. Like, you're great. I think you should be able to vote in the next election. Like, you know what? You keep your vote. You're gettable.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're doing fine. But then there was the other guys. And there were a lot of these other guys that were in the room. I mean, there were MAGA hats at Cuomo's rally. Like, there were MAGA hats. There were Republicans that had, like, out and out Republicans that had come over. There were people at the Sliwa party actually that said like they supported Curtis, but they'd voted for Cuomo because they thought, that he was the only way to keep Mamdani out.
Trump's last gasp endorsement of Andrew Cuomo, including he was also endorsed by Elon Musk and Stephen Miller of all people.
And
when
Woody
the
Allen.
proposition perfect. I mean, when the proposition is, it's not actually a vote for Andrew Cuomo. It's a vote to not it's a vote to stop Zohran Mamdani.
Yeah.
It's not a vote for Cuomo, and that is not a winning proposition in this race. It was for Joe Biden exactly one time.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's like like you were saying earlier, Cros, like we all remember last year, like when, like there was that time Rafi wrote a funny blog about this, like when after the Biden debate, and people were like, I don't care if like Biden's brain is like on the floor and like I don't care if he's
the
like,
Biden dead
like,
enders.
I don't care if he's technically brain dead and like can't even like do anything. Like that's better than Trump. And like we saw how that went. And like it's the same vibe.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was kind of the surreal part of the night. And the question that I regret not directly asking someone is like, how does it make you feel? Like, I kind of regret not asking Mary Jo this, although she was so nice, I kind of would have felt bad turning the screw in her like that. But like, we first started talking because this guy who's a independent Republican candidate for mayor, I don't know, you probably saw him floating around on Twitter. He was the giant Sopranos extra looking guy who stood up with the sign being like, Curtis Sliwa has the spoiler.
Yeah.
Shame on you, Curtis Sliwa. I started talking to Mary Jo when she was like watching this guy do that with like a look of like, on her face.
Yeah. That's not how we should do this.
Yeah. And so there's that guy, but then there's also like when Cuomo's giving this speech, I'm standing next to this guy who's wearing a like blacked out Make America Great Again hat, like one of the black on black hats, like the Elon Musk one or whatever. And the when Cuomo mentions Mamdani's name, he just starts screaming, "He's a communist! He's a communist! I'll say it! He's a communist!" And
amazing.
And so and Cuomo's doing this like, that's not us, like everybody stop booing, like yada yada yada. But and this guy's like, he's like worked up. And I ask him, and he gives me the quote that's in the piece where he was like, someone's got to put a leash on him, like, he goes on and on about this like video clip that was going around the conservative internet of I honestly couldn't fully discern whether it was actually real or not, or what the context was. It's like a 5-second clip where Zohran, wearing a bandana over his face, it must have been the like really early days of COVID, delivers the line like, we're gonna remake this city in the image of our people, or something like that. I don't know, which they saw to mean like, he's gonna turn this into Sharia law Mecca,
right?
Et cetera. And like these guys were steamed up about that, and they are mad. And it's like, it was surreal to be in this room, and Cuomo himself was like, we created a coalition that transcended party lines, and it was like,
sure did.
And really like, and this you're proud of that? Like, you want the MAGA hat guy saying you need to put a leash on the brown mayor-elect, like, in the room with you? Like, you're good with that? And Cuomo at least is. I'm sure a lot of his supporters are not. I mean, the real estate guy I talked to was like, I'm not a fan of Trump at all. Like, I would never vote for him. I've been a Democrat my whole life, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, like, I think there's a sizable contingent of people, many of them old, who the resistance to any sort of positive change is like the inertia. I think one of you guys said it, is just so large that they will sink to basically any depth to stop anything from changing in their lives. And they don't care that for a huge amount of people in this country, things really, really need to change.
Yes. And in the city.
Yeah. All votes motivated entirely by fear. And Zohran's counter argument, what about hope?
Right.
Give it a shot.
Stick it on a Shepherd Ferry poster.
I wonder if anyone else successfully tried that.
Man. I mean, were you watching I guess the formerly MSNBC, now MS Now?
No, I did not watch any of that.
What were they up to?
Just the ragtag team of the absolutely perfect panel of Rachel Maddow, your girl Nicole Wallace, Chris Hayes, Jen Psaki, Michael Steele.
Oh God,
all your favorites. Stephanie
Jen
Rule.
Psaki really fumbled the bag there. I mean, I'm sure she didn't. I'm sure her bag is enormous that she's getting from, the corpse of the network. But like, damn, she went to MSNBC and then they got kind of like split off. She's thinking like, oh my God, I should have taken the CNN offer or something.
You know what? I think she's thinking right now. She's like, I could either have my life or Corinne Jean-Pierre's life, and
that's true.
She'll take her life.
Yeah, she got out when the getting was good.
I think Jen's
got
fine.
out when
I think she's doing great.
Corinne Jean-Pierre, who's like clowning herself in any forum that will take her. The one person who left the Democratic Party because it was too mean to Joe Biden.
How do you watch MS now? Is it just like, do you stream it?
It's the same
TV
channel as MSNBC. They did all. I had to learn quite too much, frankly, about the name change and the sort of rebranding. Yeah. But they're like doing this whole shtick about same channel, same people, same mission, just a different name, guys. Mm-hmm. It's gonna be chill.
But were they?
And then I had to watch this like anemic sepia toned, not actually, but like you get the vibe, sort of. Commercial set to Maya Angelou recitation, and I was like, okay, we're really going for it here. Anyway, I bring them up because they immediately were like, Zohran Mamdani, this speech is really reminding me of, as Jack said, Barack Obama, the way he's able to sort of motivate people. There's just like immediate connection to 2008 and sort of the movement around that, but sort of stopping short of saying like. I think a big narrative coming out of last night, at least in sort of like the pundit class and sort of like the meta narrative of like the outcome of yesterday's results, not just in New York City, but also in major races in Virginia, New Jersey, the proposition in California. Big narrative talk line. And AOC even said this, the best Democratic candidate is going to might look a little different, depending on where you are, and that's okay because we're a big tent and we can invite everybody in. Sounds all nice in practice, but sounds all nice when you say it like that. But in practice, not seeing that actually happening.
Right. Well, I mean, that's like it's like sure, except that the entire problem with the party has been that like one group of people in the tent has spent. Like every waking minute of its life prioritizing murdering all of the other people in the tent rather than like looking outside the tent. Sure, like, Zohran Mamdani's not going to be the exact same way, as like whatever, like Joe, like farmer in Iowa. And like, I don't think there are a ton of people who would be like shocked to hear that. But, like, that's predicated on the idea that, like, something goes both ways. That, like, the Iowa guy is like, that's New York. They can do what they want. Not just that, like, the New York guy has to be like, well, it's okay that, like, the Iowa guy keeps saying that he also agrees that New York, is, like, Sodom and Gomorrah and that, it's filled only with like trans jihadists who like want to kill everything good about this country. Like to be a big tent, you do need everybody to agree to that. And there's exceptionally limited evidence, like you said, Alex, that the more establishment wing of the party, is seriously invested in any way in doing that. They expect like the Mamdani wing of the party to do that without question and like without ever like making a peep about like everything that they have, all the shit that they're supposed to eat, but they don't, but like they never have to eat any shit. The
double standard is quite ironic,
right?
Close ranks
sure had to eat some shit last night.
Close ranks and endorse the Democratic nominee no matter what, except when I don't like them.
Right. It's like, like, can you imagine, like, if like if Chuck Schumer had been running and like Zohran Mamdani like refused to endorse him, it would be like, oh my God. But like Chuck Schumer is like, fuck that. I don't have to do that.
When's Schumer up?
Schumer's
28?
up 28.
28.
Yeah.
But Gillibrand's next year, right?
Gillibrand is next year. Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah. But like, and both of them have embarrassed themselves throughout this campaign. Gillibrand, of course, was like, Zohran loves jihad. Which then she had to like take back.
Speaking of jihad,
you guys want to see a really racist sticker that a guy dressed like a club promoter gave me at the Curtis Sliwa thing?
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes, please.
So I'll hold it up to the camera. It's very clearly AI generated, to be clear. So the camera's not like quite focusing on the text here. So for the people just listening, it is a sticker of Zohran and arm in arm with, like, I'm not entirely sure who it's supposed to be, a black woman. I think maybe this was something to do with a Uganda trip. I don't know. The man was like explaining this loudly, like over like extremely loud reggaeton music. There's a Grim Reaper in the background with a pride flag just sort of like sprouting in a weird AI way, like out of his head, that the guy called the Pride Reaper. And then
not the Pride Reaper.
Yeah. And then and Zohran and the presumably Ugandan, maybe this is a black Congress, generic looking middle-aged black lady that he's with, are standing in a circle of what upon closer inspection appear to be Koopas from the game Mario, like Mario Brothers. Koopas, I think, right? The little like brown mushroom
the turtles
ones. Yeah. No, not the turtles.
Oh, not the turtles.
The little mushroom, the little mushroom head guys.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's one that doesn't have a mask on. The other ones are all wearing like headscarf, like terrorist, like
like Antifa masks or whatever.
Face coverings. No, like very specifically Middle Eastern, like headscarves tied and they're like, and they're carrying like little weapons and stuff. And they're all holding signs that say things like globalize the intifada, I didn't catch this one. Make Times Square Tehran, time singular, Times Square. Not Times Square. Zohran is holding the best sign, I think, which says, my rap game is weak, but my tax game is strong, which
might be true.
You know what? No lies detected.
Yeah. Even a stop clock.
And the black woman is holding a sign that says, send me all the gays, which can't argue with that. A woman wants what she wants. And then there's one in the back, which seems like there's a defund the police one, but the one in the back seems very like a very specific gripe. One says like free groceries, free buses, free rent, and $35 bagels.
Okay.
So like,
okay, haven't heard about the bagel
these
one.
latte sipping Williamsburgers want free groceries, buses, and rent, but will pay $35 for a bagel.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't that be part of the free groceries?
You'd assume. So,
yeah, you don't get a free bagel in your free groceries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, how do you even order a $35 bagel? Like, where are you even going?
I mean, I'm sure there's some place in the city where you can order a $35 bagel.
I'm sure you can rack that easily at like Jack's Wife Friacalo or whatever it's called. Or like, like fucking
Tribeca. Russ and Daughters. That'll set you back. Russ and Daughters bagel's overrated, by the way, in my opinion.
I don't think I've ever been there.
Oh, I mean, it's a classic, but like not for the bagels.
Yeah.
See, these are the kind of conversations that will dominate the next 4 years of a Zohran mayoralty. Although since Russ and Daughters is a very famous Jewish institution, presumably like Zohran will order it to be firebombed on day one.
Yeah, we're slapping a mosque on that bitch. Yeah.
Yeah. Russ, Daughters, like, you gotta go.
Yeah.
I mean, I really... going back to sort of what we were talking about earlier, I really have been thinking a lot about 2024 in the context of this election.
Only a year ago.
Only a year
if you
ago.
can believe it. If you can believe it.
Yeah, and not only because like Zohran, like every group that people were so freaked out, understandably, that like they might be sort of lost to Trumpism, including in New York, like came flooding back to Zohran, in this election. Like he won the black vote by like 26 points. He won Latinos heavily. Young men voted for him.
Plus
he won them
40.
by 40 points.
Hello,
like, woke,
pay attention.
Woke is back, baby.
Yeah.
The era of the performative male is upon us.
And they didn't even
have been ready. I stay ready.
Right.
And he didn't even have to start a podcast.
He didn't have to start a podcast. He didn't have to say, like, I think all trans people should die, which is like the favored current narrative that like centrist Democrats want people to sign on to. He very notably and clearly, very deliberately mentioned trans people in
his speech.
And but so like not only for that, but because like it is such like an example of everything that the Democrats were lacking in 2024, like the complete like lack of the kind of positive affirmative vision that you were talking about, Cros, the complete embrace of like the much more Cuomo-esque like I don't care if you don't like me, you have to vote for me. You
get stuck with the other guy.
Yeah, and the complete lack of like a coherent narrative that people could latch onto that made them feel like someone like understood what their problems were and cared about them in any real sense. I mean, like the one like. I just like made a thumbs up happen.
Did that?
I don't know why,
How
but
do you do
like,
that?
yeah, I agree. You're making a great point, Jack.
How did you do that, Jack?
I
how
don't
did
know.
you
I
do
was just
that?
like,
Are you a wizard?
I'm just like gesticulating and it happened.
We're
Oh,
keeping
Sam
this.
says that's an Apple thing.
Oh.
But like,
okay.
Like the key difference between the Zohran campaign and the Cuomo campaign was that, like Cuomo so clearly like hated the place he was trying to govern, and like Zohran, the entire like tenor of his campaign was like, this is a great place, and like everyone in it, deserves to like have its greatness like be reflected in their lives as much as possible, and like that's giving people something tangible to sign on to, and then of course alongside that being like, and I want the bus to run fast, and I want your rent to be frozen, and I'm not going to sit here only telling you about all the reasons that we can't do this or do that, and it's such a contrast with the void that was the 2024 campaign, and like we saw that when there is that void, like then the risk that you run and like the reality that we all have to now live with is that people turn to fascism. In a moment where like everything is like as desperate for so many people, and when things are so clearly like feel like they're falling apart everywhere as this moment is, and so like we're seeing now like a way that you can beat that back, and the fact that like the people who are in charge of the Democratic Party like have even now like such contempt for that, and like have such an inability to understand like why that is effective for people beyond like a sort of surface level, like how can we sort of like steal the optics of this while not actually having to like change anything we do. It's like, hello, you're witnessing like the test case right here, and um like you just wonder like what might have been if like they had been able to run a campaign that reflected the openness and the clarity and like the small d like democratic sort of humanist nature of the Zohran campaign rather than the arrogant and empty campaign that they actually ran that that was one of obviously many, but one of the primary factors that allowed Trump to walk back in and fuck everything up.
I mean, fascism is so seductive to people whose lives are bad because it has an easy answer for everything.
Right.
Like fascism never says, I don't know, we need further data on that. We need like fascist. You've got an answer. You've always got an answer. It's either someone's fault or it's your fault, but we're gonna fix it. You know what I mean? And you can't beat that for people when people have living conditions and material conditions that are desperate, and one side is giving them extremely easy answers for how they're going to improve those conditions, which are almost always false, and they almost always come at the detriment of millions of your fellow countrymen and people who are not citizens. But you can't beat that with means testing and with maybes and with wishy-washies and with Pell Grants and with, whatever, unless you're really, really good at messaging about Pell Grants, which I'm not entirely sure anyone is, because I still don't fully understand what a Pell Grant is. And it's been years since we've been talking about this. You can't beat that unless you have answers for everything, or you at least show that you're willing to engage with those questions, which like Zohran has from the beginning. Yeah, like every politician, he's sidestepped questions and he's pivoted to different stuff that he doesn't want to talk about. Sure, but like he has always said like, we're going to do this in a transparent way. I'm going to be very clear about what I believe in and what I'm going to do for you, and this is what I think. Like this is what I'm offering. You got to offer people something,
Right.
because the right is always going to bring something to the table.
Yes. I know we're about to pivot. But last thing that I will say, I'm very cognizant of the extremely important reminder that you gave everybody, Cros, the last time you were here about how you cannot place too much faith in politicians, how you always have to like sleep with one eye open with as far as they're concerned. And that's true for Zohran as well. And, he has already, like you said, made a bunch of different concessions, most notably about the cops, who he's sort of trying to like, be like, please don't, like if I'm nice to you, like, please don't hurt me, and we'll see how that goes. And there will be a lot more of that to come when he takes office, and like we will have to retain the ability, even though like everyone is so excited right now, to hold him accountable and to scrutinize him in the way that he needs to.
Yeah.
But for right now, like for this one sort of moment where like Muslim socialist beat back this horrendous ultra racist ruling class like hardcore Zionist awful smear campaign and beat it back in an historic fashion, like that's...
You forgot the worst part. Italian.
Yes. Another extremely important repudiation of the Italian community.
God, you know what's terrifying to me? Wait, so all right, I've got a racist theory of New York politics right now that I'm going to drop out here.
Okay.
So
Can't wait.
the Italians, they're saying they're maligned. They're like this demographic. What if what we're seeing right now, the Australians are the Italians of like 40 years from now? Because like they're a huge, like there's so many of them.
Yeah.
They're all over. They're all here thanks to President Bush and the weird visa system that we gave them in exchange for supporting us in the coalition to invade Iraq. Like all that. There's so many Australians. But like, what if we get this like aggrieved wave of Australian American politicians like being like, you can't call me a kangaroo or something like that. Like, something like you're calling us all flat whites because that's the coffee that we like to drink or something like that.
We have
what if
we have to keep the statue of a racist dingo in Central Park.
Yeah. I don't know who an Australian folk history figure is.
Oh, I mean, but, there's definitely...
They're going to start putting up statues.
Yeah, I mean,
Just watch.
they sent a bunch of criminals to like pave over like an entire set of indigenous civilizations. They have a lot of villains that they could commemorate in New York. We'll see. Like the like white villain du jour, that goes on a rotation. So maybe it's the Australians' turn.
Could be.
Now that the Italians...
It's a vision of the future.
Now that the Italians have been so thoroughly vanquished.
Yeah. Zohran Mamdani, what are you doing about the growing Australian threat?
But so like just very last thing, this is why as we were saying at the beginning, like for now we get to live out, the time will come to like go back to hating everything. But like for now we can, celebrate something good that happened, celebrate that, Italian supremacy, was set back, and just like feel okay in a terrible time.
It's nice to have something to live for once.
Yes. Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
I saw someone on Twitter saying like, it's so sad that like this is the last day you're allowed to like Zohran Mamdani.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
after
no.
this, we gotta
No.
which is true. But I think here at Discourse Blog we're saying you get a week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll give you the weekend.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll push that deadline.
Yes.
But but come Monday,
Come Monday, it's back to hatred.
Yeah.
he's another guy in a suit, baby.
Lock in.
Yes.
Lock in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lock in.
And we, and speaking of politicians to hate, this was my Dick Cheney pivot.
Perfect.
Oh.
Let's wrap it up. We'll wrap it up with with Dick Cheney talk. Dick talk.
Yes. I mean, what, as I said earlier, what a wonderful way to start yesterday morning.
A blessing from God.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I'm like, maybe God is real.
They them's plan. This is part of their grand design.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's my question. Like, obviously we all agree, like Dick Cheney, one of like history's greatest monsters. Like
There was no hell hot enough.
Yeah.
So on and so forth.
Buckets of blood on his hands. Had a huge part in creating the world that we now inhabit, particularly like in terms of like Trump's assertion that the president is basically a god. That's a theory that Cheney popularized. Massive torture monger, like, awful. Do we think that knowing that Zohran Mamdani was about to win
Killed
the
him.
New York City mayoral race killed Dick Cheney?
Well,
It's possible. I don't know how like conscious of anything he was.
I think
You know?
producer Sam makes a great point in the chat. It did not.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to think that it did. Because a Muslim immigrant like rising to the top of American politics is sort of like everything that Dick Cheney spent his entire life trying to prevent.
Yeah.
It's true. Talk about a major repudiation.
I choose to believe that the two things are linked. That he was like, he looked at a poll like the the night before the election or whatever, and was just like,
Grabbed
wow.
his heart
All right.
and
Yeah,
keeled
like,
over.
unpack it in.
Yes, his famously bad heart that he
Yeah.
had like 15 surgeries on. And was just like, you know what? Like I could almost like take Trump, but like this is the thing that sends me over the edge.
Do we know
know.
how he died?
I think he just like
It's just some old bastard.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think he died from like being an 84-year-old with like
bad
who had
heart.
like 5 open heart surgeries.
Well, yeah, that'll get you at the end.
Yeah.
Many such cases.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. And I also like the fact that his death was overshadowed by everything else that happened yesterday. So he couldn't even get like the full sort of like thank you for your service like nonsense. Even though like Kamala Harris was like thank you for your service, Dick Cheney.
Yeah, all the purple pros sort
Trump-
of washed away instantly.
Trump said that he was aware that Cheney had died.
Oh,
Or sorry, Trump didn't even say that. Carolina Leavitt.
Nice.
Caroline Leavitt said that Trump was aware that Dick Cheney died.
did you guys see the video?
the clip of Zohran
Yeah.
finding out at his polling place?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. That
And
was
he's
really
like
good. That was
fighting
really
back
good.
with all his energy
like-
not to smile and laugh. He's like,
Right.
yeah.
He's just like, you know what? I choose to have nothing to say about this.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah. He immediately just changes, like goes
Yeah.
back to the poll worker. and says
another
something to
way,
them.
another way he's proving he's sort of like a cut above the rest. So
Yes.
many motherfuckers would have tried to say something and said some like, contorted, miserable little
Yeah.
statement, and he's just
Yes.
like, you know what?
Yeah.
I don't have to say anything. I
Yeah.
won't.
He's like,
Yeah.
He's like, like that one.
Pass.
My body rejects the
Yeah.
idea that I need to say something.
And his wife is standing there and just goes,
Yeah.
Oh,
Like, all right, taking that one in. I have no comment. Yeah, she must have been like
Interesting.
dancing inside. Yeah.
all right, I
Hit it.
gotta sign off in a second here.
Okay. Yeah.
all right. Well,
Do we have an outro that we need to do?
our outro is we kind of just like awkwardly
kinda-
end things, but we
Yeah.
come
Kind
back.
of just trail off.
We kind of just trail off, but also as a reminder, next episode,
Yes.
special edition, the Great
Yes.
British Bake Off
Yes,
series
I'm gonna
rundown with Jack and Caitlin. I will not be a part of it. That is part of why we were dropping this mini-sode.
I'm going to assume
Early.
that like the overlap between everyone who's interested in our thoughts about Zohran Mamdani, and everyone who's interested in me and Caitlin's minute dissection of the like 17th season of Great British Bake Off is 100%. So we'll see you all back here in a few days.
Bye.
Bye. Come back next
Bye,
week for a new
Cros.
episode. Thanks, Cros.
Yes. Bye, everybody.
Yeah.